Welcome again. This is G coming to you again with another video message, another video teaching. The resurrection explained according to the biblical text. Now, the reason why I use the biblical text, because the Bible is proliferated. It's literally everywhere, and everybody make reference to it, whether it's in context or out of context, whether it's a pretext. Everybody really now use it. Some use it of a true heart, some use it of a false heart, some use it misconceptionalism, or whatever they use it. So that's what we using. As they say, the Bible is God breathed. But as we recognize, that is me and my spirit, and as I realize there's something is amiss. There is either text that is taken out, there are words that are inserted, and this many people realize because of the own text itself. But I have realized that even though there are texts that are taken out, there are words that are inserted, there are ideologies and concept that is not original in the text that is inserted, there's one thing that remains true, that the Spirit of the living God cannot be contained in just a book. Yes, I said it. The Spirit of the living God cannot be contained in just one book. It's just an example. It's just a preface. Just a drop in the bucket to all the many things that God has really given mankind, not an individual, mankind. How all of that is going to be inserted and be in one particular book. The truth is, God knowledge and wisdom is all over the world, in all kind of people, for their learning and their example. And so therefore, it's our duty to find God, which is a spirit, according to the prophet Jesus, they say, came. God is a spirit. So if God is a spirit, then therefore, all of us to some degree hear the voice of the Lord, and the enemy, which is man, and his spirit always combat. Let us run quickly and see if we can use the biblical text to explain clearly and firmly, without equivocation, according to the text, what the resurrection means. So we're going to explain what the resurrection means. Again, as I said before, many says the resurrection is you're going to raise in a new body, you're going to raise to the newness of life, and all these kind of religion rhetoric that many of us quote, many of us use in our daily language, and without really understanding what is being said or what you are saying. So it's kind of unconscious. It's kind of all around us, and we just pick up different thoughts and idea, which incidentally that's what they call spirit, that thing that moves you. So let's start from the Old Testament. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 3 and 4. What profit are the man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? Here's a eternal truth, and it will never pass away. Here's the verse 4 where he says, and I realize it now in my short few years on the earth. One generation pass away, and another generation comes, but the earth abideth forever. Who can say differently? This wise man, centuries pass. How long? Realize that the earth will abide forever. And one generation, that means that one set of people is going to pass away and a new set is going to come. This is a preface to get into the resurrection as I see it, according to the biblical text, according to what they have given us or forced upon us. So here I am now explaining it as it is written. So Solomon, according to the text, says Solomon write this. This is an eternal truth, that one generation is going to pass away and another one is going to come, but the earth will abide it forever. So all of the prophecies and all the people that's coming now after the New Testament and presently today and said that the sun is going to crash into the earth, there is going to be cosmic bomb, and everything is going to be according to Peter, everything is going to just disappear. No such folly. The earth will abide even after me have gone unto the grave and rot. The earth will abide and another generation will come up. This is a perpetual truth. You can't change that. So in other words, as I'm laying ground this preface, I'm laying this foundation down, say the earth will never disappear or be in a cosmic explosion. The earth will abide forever and each generation will pass. Grandfather, grandmother, presently we here, and then a new generation. And this is the preface to the resurrection. Let me say this plainly. Either I'm going to be resurrected because I was already resurrected to truth and to life and to understanding. So then therefore I was resurrected because of a long time I recognized that I was dead. I didn't care about a lot of these things until I started to realize that something was amiss. The way I was brought up in a certain religion. And so I started to understand. So I'm now rise to newness of life. Really new understanding, new concept that is there presently in the world. That is my resurrection. Now I can't be killed anymore because now I'm alive. Ezekiel 37 verse 7. This is Ezekiel prophesying to Israel at that time. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to bone. Verse 8. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. This eerily sounds like in Genesis when God made Adam and Eve and blew breath in them. Could it possibly be figurative speech? And this is according to when men have developed themselves and start to understand how to write. And not only understand how to write, but others have to learn the way or the understanding and the meaning of the written text. So when the Bible was written, life was already existing on the earth. How many years? I don't know. But of course, these are deep things that I'm talking about, which is kind of obvious though. So by the time the Bible was written, wasn't in English, men were already upon the earth. They probably didn't, and as I'm saying, probably by faith, they didn't learn languages yet. They didn't learn language. In other words, someone have to start from somewhere and they learn language and the people have to understand the language and so forth. And that is the time, at that time they start writing. But obviously, there were a generation before the Bible. So conception. As I said before, this sound eerily similar to that of Genesis with Adam and Eve and God making them from the dust of the earth and blowing breath in them. We must understand through knowledge and wisdom that the world exists before the Bible was even written. There is a time, as we look at it, and my plain conscience tell me that there is a time to develop language. There's a time to develop experience. There's a time to develop understanding, knowledge, and wisdom. And before all of that could be written and put into a book, language have to be developed. Now, I don't know if it was English or Latin or it was Greek or it was Hebrew or who first to the race of written texts and written words and written understand, who first reach and met those pinnacle first. And obviously, if which nation reached those pinnacle first, they have somewhat authority over others just by virtue of reaching to the pinnacle of written words and be able to record those things. These are obvious. Verse 9. Then said unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man. Incidentally, I'm a son of man. And say to the wind, thus said the Lord God, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. Now, as far as we read so far, and if you go back and you read in the first verse of chapter 37, the hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord. This is very clear. The Spirit of the Lord was speaking to Ezekiel. In other words, he was meditating. In other words, he was having a conversation in his thoughts. And so it's the Spirit. So all this he's saying is spiritual, which is really easy. I never knew this. So all of this that was written in verse 37, in the 37 verse 1, it says the Spirit of the Lord. So Jesus the prophet came and said God is a spirit. So God speak to you in the spirit. So this is spiritual language. In other words, in our new dispensation of understanding words, as we said, this is spiritual language. These are allegories, figurative language. These are languages and ideas and concept men have figured out to do from a long time, which they call it is a spiritual language. So all of these things is spiritual language. Verse 10. So I prophesied as commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Now, one would read this out of context and really believe that people that's in grave, that is dead, that is dried up, who was rot physically, that Ezekiel have the power to prophesy to dead people under the grave, 6'6" under the grave, and he was able to prophesy to dead people. When I say dead, I'm not talking allegorically or figurative or synonym or none of those are analogies. That's not. You're literally dead. And we believe that Ezekiel, a mere man, have the power to prophesy to dead physical flesh, and it will rise out of the grave and become a great army. As I made the preface of Ecclesiastics, and it says, one generation passed to the next generation, and the earth abided forever. You have to keep that foundation to be sound and solid in your understanding and your reasoning. So these are spiritual language to dead people. That's not my word. Let's keep on reading, and we're going to see the truth, and the truth shall set you free from folly. Verse 11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. That's verse 11. Now, plainly, this is talking about people who are alive physically, but they are dead spiritually. Now, what it means to be dead spiritually? It simply means that you're just living in folly. You're living in, you don't understand the world that is existing around us. We don't have nothing of our own. It just basically means that you're simple. You're not innovative. You're not strong amongst the nations, or a people, or a group in a community. You're weak. You're weaker. You're dead. You're cut off. You're lost. And lost just means you're lost in knowledge, lost in understanding, and lost in wisdom. And that is why the devil, Lucifer, and his minions can carry around us in circles, believing in stories and fables and all type of things, when it's plain here that when you're dead, he's not talking about dead people, physical dead people. He's talking about spiritually dead people. And of course, if you're spiritually dead, you're going to also be hurting. You're going to also be slave to those who are stronger. And this is obvious. Even the New Testament revealed these truths. You're going to be conquered because you're lost. And of course, look what the prophet says. They say our bones are dry. So this is not even. So this is what the house of Israel at that time is saying of themselves, that their bones are dry, and their hope is lost, and they are cut off from the parts. Again, the other parts of the body of God. The world in this concept are, whatever. I don't want to get too deep in it, but this is the message amongst the people. Verse 12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus said the Lord of God, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. Now, people with understanding, does this grave mean a physical grave that you have put someone under 6'6"? This is spiritual language. These are allegory. These are figurative language. These are analogies. So when God is opening up the grave, he's opening up the graves of your heart, the graves of your mind. But you have to allow him to. You have to accept the truth so that you can be free. And many of us are so indoctrinated with lies and folly. There is no grave that's going to be open. It's the grave of your heart, the grave of your spirit, the grave of your understanding, the grave of your wisdom, the grave of your knowledge. That's what God is going to open it. And when he open it, what he's going to pour into it? He's going to pour into it wisdom. And then the body, the physical body, those who are living, would have life abundantly. Isn't this easy? 13 and 14. And ye shall know that I am the Lord. That's the Lord that's speaking to the vessel, which is Ezekiel, which is the prophet. When this happens, when knowledge and wisdom and understanding comes, you will know that it was the Lord actually speaking through the prophet Ezekiel and not some fake. You will know then. And I have opened up your graves, and O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, not the physical grave, the spiritual grave. 14. And shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live. And I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, the Lord, have spoken it and perform it, said the Lord. So basically, what wisdom now have told me, and I'm telling you, I'm sharing this. And yes, some people still cannot accept this because their heart is not open to receive it, receive the truth. Their heart is more closed off with folly. So even I say this, just like the prophet or, the King Solomon, wisdom screams aloud. It really doesn't matter. It's only those whose hearts are open will really hear. What is interesting, the prophet here says, and I shall place you in your own land. Not to get off track, but I'm showing you the resurrection. The resurrection is, and this is very deep, if you get your own land, if God give the people their own land, remember, I'm not just prophesying this. I'm speaking it as I have seen it and live it and also read it. That even if God gives you your own land, you must become strong in your own land through laws, through concepts, through codes, through statutes. You have to be strong. If you're not strong in your own land, I'm prophesying here right now on this video teaching, this video message. The devil, Lucifer, and his minions will take your land because you are not strong. If you are not strong with your family that God have given you, or you wish to have and you have a family, if you're not strong, the devil and his minions will take away your family because you are not strong. The Spirit of the Lord is not strong in you. If the devil comes and take away your home, your physical home that you're living in through, and because you can't control or you cannot manage your debt, he will take your home away from you. God give it and the devil take it away. But we still bless the name of the Lord. Wait. Listen, understand what I'm saying. God give it and the devil take it away. But we still bless the name of the Lord. God is not like man. that giveth and taketh away. God gives to man, and he's so good, but the devil take it away. So the resurrection is the resurrection of the spirit, which is the spirit of truth, the spirit of wisdom, the spirit of knowledge, the spirit of understanding, so that the devil cannot take away what God has given you. Understand, as we look through the Old Testament, was resurrection is incidentally it's the same resurrection in the New Testament, and I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to prove it. And if you listen so far to in this video message, I'm sure 100% your fables will be challenged. Your idea and your concept of the resurrection will be challenged, because now I'm reading it and I'm showing you what the Spirit of the Lord is teaching. Not only me, but those who were slow to understand. Malachi 4, reading from verse 5, it says, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming on the great, dreadful day of the Lord." So many people have read this and says Elijah must come back. He must have to be resurrected. So they were looking for Elijah. Even presently in Jesus' time, you see the Pharisees, they were looking for Elijah. They were looking for Elijah in the flesh. They were looking for a resurrection. They were looking that Elijah would have came out of the physical grave and present himself as Elijah, which was, of course, we know as we are reading the text, is folly. But somehow though, that concept and that idea transfer presently to many believers. They do believe that the graves would open up and dead people, their dead family, their dead friend will be coming out of the grave in the Spirit of the Lord. Somehow this lie has transferred to us, and we are starting to believe a folly. We are starting to believe fables that Elijah or the saints of old will now pierce the dirt, pierce the earth underneath the ground, underneath our foot, and come out of the grave. How is under God's earth we got this transference of this lie? I understand it now. Won't get deeper into it. But those who are believing that the physical grave will open up and Elijah, it was there presently at Jesus' time. But let's see how Jesus, as what was given to us, are forced upon us. So let's see how the prophet interpret Elijah coming forth. And this is a resurrection. He wasn't doing anything new, really. He was now doing the same thing that Ezekiel was doing, prophesying through the Spirit. He's doing actually the same thing, but because the people are lost in their minds, lost in their knowledge, lost in their understanding, lost in their wisdom, the enemy has came in and floundered them, scattered them, spread them to the winds of the earth. They are confused. And Jesus is coming back and saying the same thing, repeating the same thing as Ezekiel. Let me say this. What good it is that your mind is liberated, but your body is still in prison and in shackle. What good it is. You know, there are many of us teachers who are higher than me pontificate that your mind can be free. But what good is your mind can be free as long as your mind is free, your body is free also. Not so, friends. If your mind is free and your body is not free, you're not free. That's basically, you can't be in prison. You can't be in a physical prison and your mind be free. That's a folly. You're still in prison. You're still limited to the things that you can do. Your mind have to be free and your body have to be free. And I would say free to some degree. Now let's look at the interpretation of the resurrection. The resurrection of all time. We're taking from Matthew 11, starting from verse 10. We're just talking about a resurrection. We're explaining it. For this is he, verse 10 of Matthew 11, of whom it was written, Behold, I will send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. 13, 14, and 15. This is the interpretation of the resurrection of Elijah in Malachi. Let's look what Jesus, the prophet, they say he said, but they are not listening to him. Let's look. For all the prophets and all the law prophesied until John. And if, watch this, and if ye will receive it, this is Elias, which that could be a mistake, and it could be Elijah, which was for to come. He that have an ears to hear, let him hear. Now, in the New Testament, it said Elias. I believe it was Elijah, because when you look at the description of John the Baptist, he was wearing the similar according to what was written and given to us, or forced upon us. It was written that John the Baptist came in like manner as Elijah. He came from the wilderness, whatever context that may be in. He was wearing pretty much very no clothing, as they would say if we take it by the letter. It could simply mean that John wasn't regarded as many, and he just come in that spirit to just preach, as we would say in the charismatic church, and quote unquote. He came with fire and brimstone. He was just preaching the gospel. According to Jesus, the whole place, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the disciples, many people miss Elijah. They miss him because they were looking for, I don't know if they had a camera then that could have taken a picture of Elijah back then to see if he would resurrect from the graves, so they could say, oh, this is Elijah. I don't know if they had it then, but it was, if you think about it, it couldn't be physical Elijah. As the New Testament said, it was in like manner. He was behaving similar to how they read about Elijah. So Elijah's resurrection was a spirit that mimics and actually looks like Elijah. So Elijah's resurrection is one of the spirit. That means there was another body that was prepared, John the Baptist. And as he was prepared, the spirit that was then transferred to John, and he started to act like Elijah, or what the written text has exposed Elijah operated like. And if you look at the story of Elijah, is like virtually the same spirit that just like called fire down and was just like playing. So that was the resurrection. That's the resurrection according to the biblical text. Not someone coming out of the grave or people coming out of the grave, but a spiritual enlightenment, a spiritual evolution that you now start understanding. You now have wisdom and knowledge, because according to Ezekiel, if you get your own land, get your own family, get your own house, if you don't have the spirit of the Lord, which is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, the devil, the Lucifer, his minion, will come in and take away your house, your home, your family, whatever God have strengthened you to do in this lifetime. Even though Solomon say it's vanity, but whatever you have received in this lifetime, whether it's good or bad in the context of just vanity, if you are not strong enough to hold on to what God has given you through his wisdom and his knowledge, so you enjoy this life to have it more abundantly, the devil, Lucifer, Satan, and his minions will come into your home, and they will raid it, and they will take what God has given you. Now let me rephrase this as I'm ending. God does not take what he has given. What God give, God give. But the devil, and Lucifer, and his minions will take away what God has given you if you are not strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Peace and love